You're listening to the best of the Mantour Guy podcast as we gear up for the fall, winter, and into the new year. Enjoy the summer as well as this amazing episode from the past 12 months.
Mantour Ministries presents the Mantour Guy podcast. We may talk about football. We could mention bacon. We might reference Rocky movies. We'll probably discuss the Mantour conferences, but we'll definitely talk about how to grow in our walk with God. Here's your host, the Mantour Guy, Jamie Holden.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Mantour Guy podcast. Jamie Holden here, the Mantour Guy. Thanks so much for taking time to listen this week. Guys, this week I want to share with you about a topic I am so passionate about. It's the reason I get out of bed every morning. I want to share with you about waking up your men's ministry. Men, the past year of shutdowns has been brutal for men's ministries all across the country. I firmly believe it's time to rise and shine. It's time to get our men's ministries alive and thriving once again. Back in May, I had the privilege of speaking on this topic at the Penndel Ministry Network's District Summit, and I had such a great response from the men that attended that I have decided to share the material I shared there with you today on the podcast. We're going to look at the basics of starting or restarting a men's ministry that is healthy and creating thriving, mature men of God. That's the goal. To have a healthy men's ministry that creates thriving, mature disciples. I truly believe it's time to wake up men's ministry in America. The need is so great. Did you know that 90 million men are not involved in any kind of discipleship? Only 6 million men are involved in discipleship. That's 1 out of every 18 men. The typical U.S. congregation draws an adult crowd that's 61% female, 39% male. This gender gap shows up in all age categories. On any given Sunday, there are 13 million more adult women than men in America's churches. This Sunday, almost 20% of married church-going women will worship without their husbands. Midweek activities at churches draw 70 to 80% female participants. Over 70% of the boys who are being raised in church will abandon it during their teens and 20s. Many of these boys will never return. More than 90% of Americans believe in God, and 5 out of 6 call themselves Christians, but only 2 out of 6 attend church on a given Sunday. The average man accepts the reality of Jesus Christ, but fails to see any value in going to church. Fewer than 10% of U.S. churches are able to establish or maintain a vibrant men's ministry. And fewer than 1% of church-going men participate in any sort of ongoing men's ministry program. These stats are from the SoulCon website, and these stats are devastating. These numbers show the urgency to wake up our men's ministries. It's time to rise and shine. So today on this podcast, we're going to be looking at a question I get asked quite often as I go around with the Mantours and speaking at churches. So many pastors and men in our local churches want to have a healthy, thriving men's ministry in their church. They want to mentor and disciple men, but they just don't know where to start. So today we're going to discuss ways to help you develop a helping, thriving men's ministry. We're going to talk about how to choose a leader for the men's group, what methods or curriculums will work best for your men's group, what conferences, retreat, and outreaches you can attend to build camaraderie within your men, how your group can serve your church and your community, how you can reach younger men and bring them into our men's groups, and how we can help support missions. And as we look at these questions, I'm going to start with a brief discussion on how to choose a men's ministry leader from the church to lead men. Then we're going to lay out the 4 paths to a healthy men's ministry. We will base them on a baseball field. A baseball diamond has 4 bases, first, second, third, and home plate. That's the analogy we're going to use. We will look at each area and give practical tips for implementation. You can start and maintain a thriving men's ministry as men hitting home runs for God's kingdom. So how do you choose the person to lead a men's group if you're not the one who's going to do it? I'm sure the biggest struggle churches have is knowing who to trust to lead the men's ministry. I have found that the best choice isn't always the guy who's most eager to lead the group. I understand many churches don't have men's ministries because the pastor doesn't have time to lead them. But when this happens and you don't know who to lead the group, you're ignoring a ministry designed to 50% of the Earth's population. Guys, I personally believe if you're going to have men's ministry in your church, the best time to do it is on a Wednesday night. Or whatever night your church. Some do midweek services on Thursday or whatever. Whatever you do your midweek service, I think that's the best time to have men's ministries. The reason for that is men will bring their kids to church for youth programs, children programs, and, you get more kids will come to those events, and fathers are also coming to church for men's ministry. Plus, everyone's busy. Men are busy. So it's really expecting a lot for people to come to midweek service and then go to a men's meeting another day of the week. So I personally advise making Wednesday your family night at church and having your men's and women's groups meet on that night while the kids are in their programs. So how do you find a leader? I recently read an article from the National Assemblies of God Men's Ministry on launching a men's ministry, and they made a great point about choosing a leader for your church's men's ministry. The answer to how to choose a men's leader is really a simple one. It really is very basic. Pray about it and ask God who should lead the group. I mean, duh, right? It sounds so cliche, but it really is the best way to do it. And so often prayer is our last resort. It should be our first. God knows the hearts and the motivations of the people in your church, and He knows who should lead the men's ministry. So ask Him. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's somebody else. Ask Him. But as you're choosing, here's a list of things to keep in mind. It's the kind of characteristics that a man who wants to lead a men's group should have. He should be passionate. He should have a fervent desire to see men discipled for Jesus. He should be loyal and have faithfully support his pastor's ministry and direction. He should be a leader who is a mature believer, able to teach, direct, and keep the Bible at the center of every lesson or event. He should be a man of integrity who has uncompromising beliefs regardless of what's going on in his life or challenges he faces. He should be teachable and willing to receive feedback and direction from the lead pastor or other leaders. He needs to be generous, open-handed with his resources, skills, and time. He should be family-oriented. He protects and provides for his household as well as his church family. He should be an influencer who has the ability to recruit and greatly impact the lives of men. And he needs to be a mentor who guides and develops men as disciples of Christ. So as you're looking for the man to lead the group, maybe it's you. Maybe God's calling you out of your comfort zone to lead it. Maybe He's calling you to be support to the person who is going to lead it. Seek advice from other people in the church. They may see something about the person that you're considering that you're missing. Make sure to ask their opinion before you share your thoughts. That way they just won't tell you what you want to hear. All right, so that's how you go about choosing a leader. But what should a men's ministry look like? Let's spend some time looking at the 4 key parts to healthy men's ministry. Guys, we're going to do this right after the break.
I know you're gonna dig this.
Like what you're hearing? Head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Thanks.
Guys, did you know you can watch all the sessions from the 2022 Ignition Mantour conferences for free? Whether you watch them on your own or use them in your church's men's ministry, they are available to view on our Mantour Ministries YouTube channel as well as at mantourministries.com/2022 conference videos. Check out these session videos as well as the session videos for past mentors for free. They are great resources to help you grow in your walk with God. So take advantage of these free conference sessions today.
The Mantour Guy Podcast, helping men grow in their walk with God.
Will you be a ride or die man of God? This is the challenge contained in the pages of our new book for men. Ride or Die examines the lives of 10 men who set an amazing example of extreme loyalty to God. No matter what He asked or what circumstances they faced, they always fist pumped and said, "Let's do this, I'll ride or die with you." Each chapter challenges us to follow in their footsteps and accept the call to be men who are wholeheartedly devoted to God. Filled with practical applications for today's culture, this book will inspire you to say, "I'll ride or die with God."
Order your copy today at mantourministries.com. Don't forget to visit iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Thanks.
Guys, have you liked and followed Mantour Ministries on Facebook? If not, this is the perfect time to do it. We really stepped up our social media game to bring you content Monday through Thursday throughout the year. You can watch short video clips from the Mantours, be inspired by quote images, and stay informed of everything happening at Mantour Ministries simply by liking and following us on Facebook. So take time today, go to Facebook and search for Mantour Ministries and like and follow us. Do it today, guys.
Welcome back to the Mantour Guy Podcast.
Welcome back, guys, as we continue to look at how we can wake up our men's ministries. Let's switch our attention and look at the 4 vital parts of a men's ministry. The 4 key parts to a healthy men's ministry are relationships, discipleship, accountability, and service. As we discuss each area, we're going to use the analogy of a baseball diamond. It has 4 bases, first, second, third, and home plate. Each of these areas is an important part of keeping your men's ministry healthy and thriving. No man is going to be open and honest with the group if they don't feel comfortable, so relationship building is the number 1 priority of developing a men's ministry. However, having relationships isn't enough. You need to see your men growing spiritually, so discipleship's needed. In order to achieve this, you need to identify and implement the best curriculums for your men and have consistent weekly teaching. Accountability is a key part of your men's group. Men need to be holding each other accountable and helping each other overcome weaknesses. It's so important, guys. However, it can't stop there. You can't always take in and never give out, or you'll become bloated, useless Christians. You need to take what you learn and help other people. So service needs to be the 4th tier, the home base of your men's ministry. So let's take some time and look at each base individually. So starting at first base is building relationships. One of the biggest errors men's ministry make is diving too fast into deep personal conversations without first developing relationships. I remember once I went to a men's ministry launch night at a church. It was the first night they were doing their men's ministry. It was a church just had started. And on night 1 in the group where most of the guys had known each other for all of about, say, 15 minutes, the leader opened up by asking each man to sit around in a circle, and he wanted each man to go around a circle and share what their biggest sin struggle is in their life. I knew immediately what was going to happen next, and I was right. Not a single man participated. No man is going to open up and spill their guts to a bunch of strangers. I know for sure I wasn't going to do it, but often this is what we ask the men to do in our men's ministry. Guys, relationships are the key to healthy men's ministry. We need to be intentional about developing these relationships and friendships with the men in the group. So how do we do it? You need to begin by having some fun activities together. Some ideas could be having a Super Bowl party together, do a fantasy football league together, have a weekend hike together, a day at the shooting range together, do a chili cook-off. The list could go on and on. Basically, you want to gauge your guys to see what they enjoy doing and then do it together. Another great way to develop relationships is to go to a men's conference or a men's retreat together. I encourage you all to plan to attend your local Mantour conference in the spring and the Penndel Potomac Honor Bound conference in the fall. You can also check out Adventure Fest in the summer. We usually hold 8 to 10 Mantours in the spring. This year we had 6 due to COVID. We're hoping though that next year we'll resume our full schedule, and we're desperately trying to be in all areas of Pennsylvania and Delaware. So guys, just keep that in mind and keep your eye out for your local Mantour. I highly recommend you take advantage of these conferences. These events are full of great spiritual teaching, but they also allow for the guys to get away together and develop relationships as they ride in a van or they sit around a table for a meal afterwards. And one more quick point on this. I personally would list a monthly men's breakfast under this relationship step. It's a great men's ministry venue. I speak at men's ministries a lot. But if this is the only ministry you're doing to men, your men's ministry potentially is stuck on first base and it hasn't yet reached its full potential. Relationships are the starting point of a thriving men's ministry. Guys need to feel comfortable together before they'll go deep with each other. So first base is always building relationships. All right, let's talk about second base now, and that is discipleship. You may be wondering, why isn't discipleship the first base? Isn't that what men's ministry is all about? Well, yeah, discipleship is important, but like we mentioned earlier, discipleship is not going to happen without relationships being developed. However, Once the men get comfortable together, they'll begin opening up about their lives. So how do you start? Well, first, you need to choose the best discipleship and teaching tools for your men to use. There are 3 different ways I have found work best. The first is Bible study. In my opinion, the best option is a Bible study together where men read and discuss the Word of God and make it a part of their daily lives. However, this requires the group to have some mature men in it to lead the study and discussion. You want to make sure the men leading the group know basic theology. You don't want someone teaching progressive doctrine or some false beliefs. I remember sitting in a men's group where they allowed a new believer to lead the teaching, and the men were sitting there knowing what he was teaching was not true and was not biblical. So if you're doing this form of a study, you need to either make sure you personally are there, have an elder or your pastor or someone there in your church to clear up any bad teachings on the spot. It's important and it's vital. Another great option is books for men. There are many great books and studies available for men, and most have workbooks or study questions included in them. I, of course, am partial to Mantour Ministry books. We always include a workbook and work study questions in the book. We produce our resources because we believe it is important to have Bible-based books and resources written from the Pentecostal perspective. There's not many books and resources for men from this Pentecostal perspective, so we believe we're filling a need. Men are loving working through our resources together. Men's ministries all across the Northeast are using these books on a weekly basis. Guys, I encourage you, take advantage of our Mantour Ministries books and use them as your curriculum in your men's group. And the third option is video curriculums. There are many great video curriculums available to men today. I have experience with Men's Fraternity, the Quest for Authentic Manhood, and the 360 Man. These curriculums have 20 to 30 minutes video lessons, and they have accompanying workbooks. So you watch the video together, and then you break into smaller groups and discuss the questions and info from the workbook. I also have experience with the Knights of the 21st Century in Lebanon, PA. Their videos are great. They're a fabulous curriculum. However, all these 3 curriculums I've mentioned, none of them are written from the Pentecostal perspective, so you have to keep that in mind. One downside I have seen when men's group do nothing but videos, though, is that men stop coming. And this will be especially true as you wake up and jumpstart your men's ministry post-COVID. Men are Zooming at work. They've been doing digital church and digital meetings, digital everything for a year, and they are just sick of it. Guys, video curriculums work sporadically, but I don't recommend a solid diet of it every week of every year. I know a men's group that had over 50 men coming regularly to it, but then the leaders started doing video curriculums each week, and slowly the men stopped coming. Guys are going to be willing to do some video curriculums, but when you do it repeatedly, it'll cause men to stop coming. They can watch TV at home. So I recommend doing videos periodically. Don't do it all the time. You need to choose what's best for you and your men. One more thought on discipleship. Make sure to keep younger men in mind when choosing your curriculum. You want to make sure to reach out to include the younger guys in your church. Also, remember, people are waiting longer to get married these days, so don't make every study be about marriage or being a godly father. Doing this excludes a large number of men. It's good to do these topics sporadically. Single men need to learn it so they are prepared for when their life does change, but don't make it every week all the time. Alright, so we've hit the first base talking about relationships. We've rounded first, headed for second, talking about discipleship. Now we're going to head to third base here, and that is accountability. The third base of men's ministry is a need for men to begin spending time together outside the group for accountability. This step cannot happen until all relationships have been formed and cultivated. Every guy in the group should have an accountability partner. If you have a group of 10 men, ideally you have 5 sets of accountability partners, 2 guys holding each other accountable. The 2 guys would get together regularly, and during this time they would ask each other, have you had your devotions faithfully? What did God teach you through His Word this last week? Have you exposed your mind to sexually inappropriate things? Did you look at any porn or watch anything you shouldn't have watched? What sin did you battle with this week? Did God give you victory in an unexpected way? What do you anticipate will you battle in the coming week? Are you being honest with others? How is your family life back home? Are you exercising and taking care of your body? Have you lied to me about any of your answers? I love that last one. Have you lied to me about any of your answers? That gives a chance for them to say, all right, you know what, I haven't been completely open and honest, but let me tell you what's really going on. It's a great last question. These are some great accountability questions to ask. Accountability must be part of a healthy men's ministry so that men can help each other grow in their walk with God. All right, so we've rounded third base and we're headed for home plate. Men's ministries who are healthy and thriving score when they are actively serving together. Guys, the home run of men's ministry is service. The Christian life isn't about just us and our growth. It's about giving back and serving others. A healthy, vibrant men's ministry needs to have outreaches and a way to serve. Men love a challenge, so give them one. Give them ways to serve. God wants his men to be more than just a butt in the pew. He wants us to invest our time into others to help them grow into their walk with God. And service is a vital element to keeping your men's ministry thriving. There are 3 ways we need to teach men to serve. You need to teach men to serve in the church. They need to serve the local church. I have never heard of a church that refuses help. There are loads of ways for men to serve in a church. What do I mean? Well, if there's weeds at your church, green thumb men who love to garden could come to church and pull weeds. If you have gearheads at the church, they can maintain church vehicles. Are there men who like to paint? All churches have rooms in need of some sprucing up. Does your church have some Bob the Builders in it? Churches have loads of projects that need worked on. Some men aren't into hands-on manual labor, or maybe they're like me, they physically can't do it anymore. These men could work with your church's men's ministry or youth ministry as an adult helper. They could influence the lives of so many young men who are longing for the attention and approval of a godly man. Anyone can serve in their church, from big jobs to jobs like being the guy who offers to pour the grape juice in the cups of Communion Sunday. All these jobs are important. They're all ways for men to serve in the church. Your job as the leader of men is to present opportunities to them. The second way that men and men's ministries need to serve is in the community. It's important to make sure our men's ministry is outward focused. We need to reach outside the church world and serve the lost. And there are so many fun, creative ways to serve. Your men could have a golf fundraiser for a local charity or a homeless shelter and invite the community to be involved. If the men in your church are car guys, you could have an auto show and have all the money go to your local fire department. Do you like motorcycles? Organize a ride to raise funds for the local school's booster club. Does your group like to do construction or handyman work? Volunteer a weekend to work with a local homeless shelter doing repairs. The extra time your town has a community event, volunteer to direct traffic and parking. Guys, the possibilities to serve are endless. Be creative, but find ways to serve outside of your church walls. The third way that men need to learn to serve is in the world. As your men grow together with a heart of service, you should encourage your group to reach out of your church and your community and reach out to the world, becoming a monthly supporter of a U.S. missionary or a world missionary. Think about it, guys. If your group has 10 men in it, and these 10 men give $10 a month for 12 months to a missionary, that would be $1,200 given to missions. That's only 35 cents a day per man, but it is life-changing for a missionary. I know it would be life-changing for my ministry as we seek to raise our full HUS missions budget. You could give this to all of one missionary, you could give half to U.S. missionary and half to a world missionary. I would love to have you support us as I'm a U.S. missionary developing men's ministry in churches who don't have men's ministries. You can do that by giving to giving.ag.org, typing in James Holding and setting up your recurring account payment there. And make sure to check the box that says Faith Promise. I would love to do that. It would be life-changing for me. It would cost each man 35 cents a day. It would change my life and my ministry. But anyways, the main point is you need to teach your men to serve by giving to a missionary. It has to be one of your core goals. Your men could also do a short-term missions trip. I know of many men's groups who have done these short-term one-week trips. Some have gone to Honduras and worked with Mike Brown. Some have gone to the Philly Dream Center and served for a week or weekend with David Dominguez. And others have done short-term missions trips with Dwayne Goodling and Think Missions. And these men have come back and it has been life-changing experiences for them as they go and see what people in Honduras, how they live, how poor they are, what they have. And they go there to serve and help the people, and they come back even more blessed. I've heard from men who've gone to Philadelphia and come back and said, you wouldn't believe what we've encountered there. needles just laying around the streets and homeless people and people just hurting and dying, and we were able to serve them, and it was a life-changing experience for me. Give your men this opportunity to do these short-term trips. God aches for a generation of men to rise up and be a generation of servants. The world has seen quite enough of God's men who think they are too good to get their hands dirty and serve others. He wants men with the heart of Jesus who realize that no matter what they're doing, there's no job, no task, no responsibility, nothing that is below them. God wants men to lay down their lives with a heart of service to Him. When you start seeing this heart of service and men serving in the church and out of the church and around the world, your men's ministry is a healthy, thriving men's ministry who's hitting home runs. Guys, when you have strong relationships in your men's group, when men are actively being discipled, when they hold each other accountable and they're serving others, you have met the goal and have established a healthy, thriving men's ministry. As we get ready to end this podcast this week, I want to mention 3 more things to keep in mind when moving forward.
The Mantour Guy's final thought.
Guys, the first thing I want to share with you as we're closing here today is don't lose momentum. One of the quickest ways to kill your men's ministry is not to have a plan in place for the next stage of study. I've seen it too often. Men get involved and active, and you finish your current curriculum or book or video, and then when it's done, the men's ministry flounders for a week or 2 while the leader figures out what to do next. But during a week or 2, guys, lose interest and your momentum, it's gone. I once knew of a church who started a men's curriculum. They promoted it heavily every Sunday. They did a lot of outreach to the church's men, inviting them. And when it launched, they had a large group of men turn out. And over the course of the study, the men learned and they were growing spiritually. It was a huge success. But then it ended, and the leader didn't have the next step planned. It took almost a month until he finally figured out what to do next. But by that time, the men lost interest, and the group went from a healthy, thriving group to only a few guys again. Learn from this failure and make sure you have a game plan in place. Next thing I want to share with you as a closing is make sure you include young men in your men's ministry. Guys, younger men are the renewable energy resource for men's ministry. We need to focus on including the younger men around us in our men's group. One of the biggest crises in the church today is the trend of young men aging out of youth groups and then leaving the church. Remember the stat we shared earlier? Over 70% of the boys who are being raised in church will abandon it during their teens and their 20s. Many of these boys will never return to church. They feel they no longer belong. There isn't a place for them. Guys, we need these younger guys in our men's group. Your men's group needs to be the place for them. We need to be reaching out to the young boys in our church. One of the greatest epidemics facing the church and the world today is fatherless children. Single moms are raising their sons to the best of their ability, yet no matter how hard they work at it, they still leave a void in their sons because they have never been a man. They just can't fill that man role. It isn't their fault. It's just what is. Men in the church need to man up and help them. We have a generation of boys who long for a man to step up and help them, to teach them what it means to be a man of God. When the church men don't fill this gap, the boys learn from unsaved men how to live ungodly lives. Your men's group needs their passion and their vigor. We need their energy. We need them growing in their walk with God and doing the work God has us doing in our church and our community. We need them to replace us. We need them to outgrow us spiritually and then push the next generation to do the same. Also, guys, remember to include single men. Don't make every study be about marriage and about fatherhood. You have to have it in there. We talked about this earlier. It needs to be part of it, but don't do it every week or single men are going to feel unwelcome. Also remember, there's a lot of men in our churches who are divorced. We don't like divorce. We don't want to see it happen, but the reality is it does happen. And these divorced men need to feel wanted and accepted in the men group, and they need to be able to come to that group and be encouraged and strengthened. Make sure to include single men and divorced men. So there you have it, guys. That's the game plan in this podcast of how to develop and grow a men's ministry. Well, that's all the time we have for this week. Thanks again for taking the time to listen. We'd love if you took a minute and shared this podcast to your social media. This allows more listeners to find us. Also, subscribe and leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts. Also, don't forget to head over to MantourMinistries.com and check out all we have to offer. You can read the first chapter of most of our books for free and find links to purchase the entire book. You can watch all the sessions for the 2022 Ignition Mantours for free, as well as read all of our newsletters. We have so much for you at the website, guys. Check it out today. Finally, I encourage you to like and follow Mantour Ministries on Facebook. We've really stepped our social media game up. We are posting new content Monday through Thursday, so make sure not to miss any of it. But guys, we're out of time for this week. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on the Mantour Guy Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Mantour Guy Podcast. Be sure to visit MantourMinistries.com to learn more about our books, men's ministry resources, and our Mantour conferences.
Have you been looking for a Bible study that you can work through with your wife? Maybe you want to do devotional time with your daughter. Guys, we have the answer for you. You can buy both the men's and women's edition of Whatever It Takes for $15. This amazing deal is only available at our Mantour Ministries online store. If you go to Amazon, it is $14.99 for just the men's version. So many men are buying both versions and going through them with their wives and daughters. Do not miss this opportunity. Take advantage of this amazing deal today at MantourMinistries.com and click on the online store button.
Order your copy today at MantourMinistries.com.
Before we go, guys, one last thing. We did talk about it in the podcast, but if you sign up with Covenant Eyes at CovenantEyes.com and you use the code Mantour when you check out, you can receive 1 month of free service. Guys, what do you got to lose? You can try for 30 days, see how great it is, see how helpful it is to your walk with God. I guarantee you're not going to want to get rid of it. You're going to love it. So try it, protect yourself, protect your family, and raise up a standard against the enemy as he is trying to attack you and your loved ones. Try Covenant Eyes for free for 30 days using the code MANTOUR. It's MANTOUR at CovenantEyes.com. Try it today, guys. What do you got to lose?
The Mantour Guy Podcast, helping men grow in their walk with God.